At what age does a shove stop being flirting and start being an assault? At what point does pulling hair stop being cute and start being harassment? For many of us, the line is blurred because from the time we could walk, the adults in our lives have raised us with a specific dangerous script. They told us that if a boy is mean to you, it's because he has feelings for you. We were taught that aggression is a precursor to affection. Today, I want to challenge that narrative and show why it is time we stop teaching our children that love is an acceptable excuse for abuse. This isn't just a harmless playground myth or a rite of passage, it is a fundamental flaw in how we teach human connection. Whether we are students navigating the complexities of the dating world, parents raising the next generation, or simply members of a society struggling with rising rates of domestic conflict, the language we use matters. When we dismiss aggression as affection, we may think we're comforting a child in the moment, but we are actually hardwiring their developing minds to believe that love should hurt. As a woman, I've seen the damage this causes firsthand through the experiences of the women in my family. I began to ask myself, why are so many women trapped in toxic relationships? Why is it considered normal for men to express themselves through dominance? What part of our world created this cycle? The answer is startlingly simple and deeply tragic. It was taught from the very beginning. A few simple words have created generational trauma that impacts more than we realize, turning playground antics into lifelong patterns of pain. By romanticizing bullying as a sign of affection at an early age, society does more than just offer a platitude. We condition victims to accept early abuse as the only way to experience love. And simultaneously, we reinforce a broken social hierarchy that forbids boys from expressing vulnerability. This creates a dangerous, lifelong link that confuses aggression with intimacy. Today, we will examine how framing aggression as affection normalizes childhood abuse, how the suppression of male vulnerability fuels toxic behavioral patterns, and how these combined factors distort emotional intimacy in adult relationships. While many adults believe they are simply comforting a child when they say, "He's just doing that because he likes you," they are actually laying the first stones of emotional confusion. To understand why this comment is so heavy with consequence, we must look at how it normalizes early childhood abuse. Children learn to distrust their own instincts and boundaries when an authority figure rebrands a negative, painful experience as a positive one. According to the Harvard Graduate School of Education's Making Caring Common project, restoring kindness to childhood requires adults to prioritize justice and clear boundaries over convenient excuses for mean-spirited behavior. When we fail to do this, we teach children that someone else's interest in them is more important than their own physical or emotional safety. This creates a high tolerance for red flags before a child even enters their first serious relationship. We are essentially telling them that if someone hurts them, it's a sign of value, rather than a sign of danger. As we move deeper into this cycle, we see how the narrative silences the target, but we must also look at the impact on the aggressor. When it comes to the boys at fault, they are being taught that aggression is the only socially acceptable substitute for emotional vulnerability. The boys will be boys trope is a cage. It prevents young males from identifying and naming their actual feelings, such as nervousness, excitement, or genuine affection. According to Underwood and Rosen in their 2011 study on gender and type of aggression, there is a distinct way we gender childhood behavior. When an adult rebrands a boy's physical shove as affection, they are overriding that child's natural boundary and replacing it with a script of dominance. Society encourages boys to pursue their crushes through power because they lack the tools or the social permission to be vulnerable. Peggy Orenstein, in her 2020 research Boys and Sex, notes that when we fail to give boys the tools for emotional intimacy, they default to performance-based aggression. They have been taught that soft emotions, the very foundation of a healthy relationship, are signs of weakness. These boys grow up to be men who believe that the only way to show is to show power first. This is further supported by the American Psychological Association's 2024 guidelines, which state that social pressures force young males to suppress vulnerability in favor of dominance, effectively teaching them that aggression is their only love language. If we continue down this path of silencing children and forbidding boys from being vulnerable, we eventually find two adults who have been conditioned to accept a distorted version of love. This is where the playground shove evolves into the adult struggle. It is a cycle where adults mistake high conflict dynamics for passion, and where boundaries are viewed as obstructions rather than essentials. The lasting impact of these scripts on adult intimacy is devastating. Adults who were told bullying is affection grow up to seek partners who mistreat them, misidentifying the anxiety of a toxic relationship as a spark. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's 2024 report on preventing teen dating violence, nearly 1 in 11 female teens report experiencing physical dating violence. This is not an isolated statistic. It is the natural conclusion of a childhood spent being told that aggression equals interest. For the men who were never taught vulnerability, adult life becomes a struggle to communicate needs or resolve conflict without resorting to withdrawal or violence. Peggy Orenstein argues that this lack of emotional literacy creates an adult dating landscape defined by a lack of empathy. It is sobering reality. When we teach a 10-year-old to tolerate a shove as a crush, we are inadvertently teaching a 20-year-old to tolerate a slap as passion. When we have seen the damage this narrative does, to the child whose boundaries are erased, to the boys whose heart is hardened, and to the adults they eventually become. But the power to break this cycle does not require a policy change or a new law. It requires a change in the very words we use today. The next time you are on a playground, in a classroom, or at a family dinner, and you hear a child complain about being mistreated, resist the urge to romanticize the harm. If you are a parent, a teacher, or an older sibling, replace "he does it because he likes you" with "that behavior is not how we express that we care for someone." Let us stop teaching our daughters that pain is a compliment. Let us stop teaching our sons that vulnerability is a weakness. It is time to retire the playground lie and start raising a generation that knows, without a shadow of a doubt, that love should never, ever hurt. Thank you.